Welcome to the Thriving Immigrant podcast with Paul Adeyeye. This is where we share powerful stories of resilience, reinvention, transformation, and success. So, whether you're a new immigrant, navigating a new life, or an aspiring entrepreneur looking for inspiration, this podcast is for you. Join me as we dive into real conversations with incredible individuals who have turned challenges into opportunities. Let's learn, grow, and thrive together. Cheers to a life of abundance. Welcome to the Thriving Immigrant Podcast, and this is Paul Adeyeye. On today's episode, I'm joined by a remarkable young man. His name is John Nova. He's a tech project manager, an entrepreneur, and an immigrant who knows what it means to rebuild, rebrand, and rise. He's also the founder of Javon Tech, a training company helping immigrants and career changers to land six-figure roles in tech project management, even without a traditional tech background. Today, I'm excited about this conversation because we are going to be diving into the growing world of artificial intelligence. I'm talking about AI project management, what it is, how to break in, and how to build a meaningful career at the intersection of tech, leadership, and impact. So join me in welcoming John Nova to the Thriving Immigrant Podcast. Drum rolls.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for having me. Really nice to be here, and I'm looking forward to a really lively, fun conversation.
Awesome. Okay, so I was reading your bio and I realized that you moved to Canada about 6, 7 years ago. Do you want to walk us through your immigration journey? How did you find yourself in Canada?
Absolutely. So I'm Nigerian. I'm now a Canadian citizen as well. And I'd grown up in Nigeria, and Nigeria was fun. And then went to England for a while to work, and to school as well. And then I go back to Nigeria and started working, and I worked in a payment processing company for quite a while, and it was good fun. And then as my family started to grow, I started thinking, maybe there might be some opportunities, and maybe we should explore greener pastures. And so we moved from Nigeria to Canada, and I landed in Canada in 2019. And it was quite a bit of adjustment to the cold, to the climate. Canada is different from Nigeria, it's different from the US, it's different from England. It has its own
Hmm.
flavor. Whether it's the food, whether it's the way the office systems are set up, they're just interesting nuances to Canada, right? So it's been a journey of, adapting to the Canadian climate within North America. And at first, like everyone else, there were bits of struggling and everything, but over a period of time, started to find my footing. And I think that the path that I've explored, and that I'm beginning to thrive within, other people can also thrive as well. And that's why I'm really passionate about, training and upskilling people to be able to come into the tech space. And so, yeah, it's been an interesting journey. And I think over a period of time, you can start to see a blueprint for moving into a new climb, to sort of understand the lay of the land, but also, apart from just surviving, starting to thrive.
Hmm.
That's why one of the things, Javon Technology does is we provide, trainings, to get people away from their regular jobs to becoming tech project managers by giving them the skills they require, by giving them the tools they require, and also the mindset, because many times it's fear that acts as a limiter. So that's my journey, um, from Nigeria to Canada, surviving, thriving, and now helping and working with other people to also, thrive as well in the new climate.
Thank you. That's very phenomenal. Like, I love how you shared your story, especially for the fact that you made it clear that it was when you landed in Canada that you decided to pivot into tech project management, correct?
Well, not exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I can break down a bit more. So before I came into Canada, I was working in tech. I've been in tech for about a decade,
Okay.
but I worked in other functions. So I've done sales, I've done business development, and I've done some project implementation as well. But the title wasn't, project manager. And
Right.
the thing is, if you think about sort of commercial model of payment processing companies, you can make money from an actual sale, right? But then you can also make money from annual maintenance fees. But the bulk of revenue comes from transaction fees.
Hmm.
Think about it, for a company to make money from transaction fees, you need to have finished your implementation. So it's critical that just beyond sales, right, which was, part of targets we had, it was also critical to close as well. And closing is that execution part. And all of a sudden, I started to have to wear the project management hat, right? What exactly are we trying to do, which is scope? How long is it going to take, which is the timeline?
Timeline.
Are we still within the budget and everything? Who's going to be responsible, right? Who are the guys to navigate, when it comes to conversations, the different stakeholders and stakeholder analysis and all that kind of jazz, right? So over a period of time, I mean, before I became a project manager, I used to read PMBOK because we had to execute projects because we had to make money. And then when I go into Canada, I said, look, let me just bite the bullet and then go the whole 9 yards, and
Oh,
then
wow.
transition into tech project management. Yeah.
Right. I can relate with that because I feel like most times a lot of us have actually been managing projects unconsciously. We just don't have the title of project manager. And I think that's why I don't know, I don't have the data, but most people that I know that have officially transitioned into project management, they usually do well because all the experiences, all the skills that we've gathered over the years before moving to this part of the world, they all count. And we probably have been working in that space, not just officially.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that illustration you just mentioned makes a lot of sense. Even as a salesperson, there's a project management to it.
Absolutely. That's one of the things we do many times. Like part of the training course, one of the modules outlines the fact that you largely, if you're a working professional, very likely you have what it takes, right? So if you already have what it takes and you just need to upskill a bit, like you have to do for any role, why don't you upskill and then get a higher income, right? And better career prospects, right? Just do it.
Yeah.
Because many times people feel, oh, I can't do this. But I'm like, have you baked a cake and delivered the cake?
Hmm.
Or some project management in doing that. Have you organized the party? Right? Did you have to do like strategy reports and deliver those kind of things? They're project management elements. So it's now really refining those skills, bridging the gaps you may have in terms of your understanding of the tools, of the artifacts, of the techniques, right? And then being able to transition successfully.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to take you back to your journey, like your early years in Canada. Did you enjoy mentorship from anyone, or you just woke up and decided, like, okay, let me go into project management officially?
Oh, well, I would not say there was mentorship. So there was mentorship around, how to settle into Canada. There is a government organization, I forget the name right now, and they help you sort of break into, life in Canada. But the choice to just go full-fledged to become, a full-fledged project manager was the choice I made. Because I looked at the climb and I looked at my skills and I thought about the things that I do and what I have a natural affinity for. I like to get stuff done. I have a
Hmm.
natural affinity for execution. And again, I'd executed many projects. I'd played the project manager role. I played the scrum master role. I'd managed a division in the company, right? And it was about closing projects. So it wasn't a mentor who said, oh, you should be a project manager. And I think it's also critical that when people decide to make that decision, that it's their journey, it's their choice, right? They've got to have some sort of why. So that when
Hmm.
things get rough, they can remember, oh, I made this decision for XYZ reason. So yeah, not based on the mentor.
Hmm. That's a that's an interesting perspective. I like it because most times when I speak to people, they always say, "Oh, well, I met with some set of people. They've guided me, and they were like, okay, these are your strengths. I think you should do this."
Mm,
It's good to hear from a different perspective.
sure.
So I'm going to ask you now. You've been in project management all your life. What would you recommend about taking the PMP certification? So, and the reason I'm asking this is in your own case, like you mentioned, you've actually been doing this project management,
Yeah.
quote and unquote, unofficially. And when you moved to Canada, you decided to take your PMP. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. So I took my
Okay.
PMP when I was in Canada
Okay.
after I became a project manager.
After I became a project manager,
Yes.
Yeah, so I strongly believe that there's a plus to you being certified. Like there's an additional value it gives to your profile or to your resume and maybe to your knowledge as well. So what do you think? Is it a major requirement?
There's the long-winded answer, right? There's a long-winded answer to the question, do you need to be PMP certified to be a project manager? The short answer is no, you don't need the PMP certification. You don't need Prince 2. If you have skills, you can execute projects. I don't even think that most people, when they're going to school to get their first degree, say, hey, I want to be a project manager. It kind of happens along the way. There's a need, a critical need, there's a pain point, and then the role occurs. But then, is there value to the PMP? The answer to that question is yes, there is some value, but you have to ask yourself, what do I want to get with the PMP? Some people think that, oh, I can't look for a project management job till I have a PMP, and that's simply not true. What is the value the PMP will give you? Do you want to have access to the tools, the methodology, the technique, the know-how, right? The PMP can assist you with some of that. Some of that you'll get in the real world. Would you would your profile look better from a recruitment standpoint, right? The PMP can also assist with that. Now, but are there people who don't have a PMP but are able to couch their CVs, their LinkedIn profiles, work on networking, critical components to land the job as project managers and as project leads? Absolutely. So the answer is a bit of like a Schrodinger cat. It's yes and no.
Is yes or no?
The
I
PMP
get
is
it.
good, but you don't need the PMP to become a project manager,
Yeah.
right? If you go down the PMP route, absolutely, absolutely awesome. But I have a lot of people who are certified and they still do the course that the 30-day project manager accelerator, or they come to have training because they have a certification, but they're not confident that they can execute. At
Hmm.
the end of the day, project management is all about execution and results.
Yeah.
It's not about having a certification, right? But that's my answer.
That's a good one. Interesting perspective, right? I like it. I, I think the summary of everything you've just said is yeah, PMP is great. It can make you stand out when you are maybe trying to transition or apply for a new role.
Yeah,
However, being certified doesn't mean you can get the job done. So,
absolutely.
but there's nothing wrong in having the
Nothing
skills,
wrong.
having the experience, and topping it with PMP certification.
Yes, yes. I mean, I have a PMP certification. I'm PMP certified. I'm skilled agile certified. I have SAFe. I
Okay.
have two Scrum Master certifications. I have a Scrum product owner certification. So there is the whole certification route, right? We
Hmm.
need to go down. But if you're getting a certification, don't just get certifications for certifications, right? Also get the skill that, comes with the certification.
Right. Okay. Thank you. I'm loving the conversation. I like your perspective is very different and I'm enjoying it. I'm going to ask you now about let's talk about artificial intelligence.
Good.
You know, it's it looks like it's a critical time right now for the whole world because that technology is changing every industry, not just the tech industry, because it looks like we've gotten to a point where every industry is dependent on technology one way or the other. So the artificial intelligence evolution is doing a whole lot of is revolutionizing the entire world. Now, should we be worried or should we be excited? Because recently Goldman Sachs said that 30 million jobs will be taken away in the next 5 years. And I see your posts. I see you look to me like someone that's very excited about AI. So,
I am.
so for someone listening to you right now that is thinking, should I transition into project management? Is this a role that is threatened by artificial intelligence? Or what's your general view about AI at this point? It's
Let's start with
2025.
let's start with some stats. So, and I put it up here. So, the Bureau of Labor Statistics in the US, right, says that employment of project managers is expected to grow by 7% from 2023 to 2033, faster than the average for all occupations.
Wow.
Yeah. Um, Another stat says there were approximately 943,000 project management specialists earning an annual wage of $104,000, right? And what's the market? The project management software space is projected to grow from 7.9 billion in 2024 to about 9 billion in 2025, right? And continue to grow, right? So what does this tell
Now
you?
I understand your excitement.
Oh, absolutely. So when people sometimes think I'm biased when I say, when I hear about AI, I'm really excited about AI. And people say, oh, is tech not going to steal jobs? Tech will take a lot of jobs, right? But it will not take every job because something about project management for now makes it immune to being eroded by AI,
AI.
right? If project and one of the things we do, like I spent like while like last night, I spent a lot of time just shooting an AI and automation module. Project managers who lean into AI and who lean into automation will be able to get faster output, right? Those who should be scared of AI are those who are focused on operations over results. The reason why you have any industry, the reason why you have any job, any climb, is because somebody was looking to solve a problem, and AI is just another tool. So as long as you're fixated on learning and solving problems, you will continue to be relevant, right? And that's what project managers do. The other thing is project management involves navigating a lot of human nuance or politics. So
Hmm.
when you're trying to sell to a bank, for example, or you're trying to do a project for a bank, you're not just going to be talking to one person, you're going to be talking to different stakeholders.
People. Yeah.
And different stakeholders have different interests. And so
Correct.
you're going to have to navigate those conversations and understand the different requirements and blend them and all that kind of stuff. That's not stuff ChatGPT can do for you because the complexity of human beings is where project
Like
managers are required to
stepping.
navigate.
Yeah.
So that's why AI doesn't threaten us as project managers. But
AI
if the
is just a
job just
tool.
involves you sitting down and just using a computer and not talking to human beings, then AI very likely will come for your job very quickly.
Wow. Wow. That's a good way to say it. I like it.
Thank you.
And it gives hope to people, and it gives hope to me as well. Like listening to you now, the way you've broken it down. And of course, I don't think we are getting to that point where AI will be able to do some jobs like project management roles. Like you mentioned, those roles require people to interact, and AI can help you in drafting the questions, like saying what are the best questions I should be asking these people, or what should be my next steps after getting all these answers. Awesome. Now I understand why you're always excited about AI.
Absolutely. It takes
Yeah.
away a lot of friction. It makes things simpler. That's the point.
Yeah. And another way to look at it is as most companies are transitioning into that new space, every time there's a new product or something to be developed, that's a project.
Absolutely.
So maybe right now they want to start using AI agents to replace the regular customer service unit.
Yeah.
That's a project,
Yeah.
and that requires a project management team.
That's correct.
So even as the world is changing, as the world is evolving, those evolutions are projects or mini projects. So there will always be need for project managers. Maybe this
For a
is the
long
time.
time. For a long time. The caveat, though, let me just say this.
Okay.
The point where you have the convergence of AI and humanoid robotics is where a lot more jobs will be affected. So right now you have generative AIs or AI agents, and I'm talking of AIs that produce some sort of output, whether it's text or audio or pictures or images or carry out make decisions like agents. But there'll be a point where you start to have AI in robots,
Hmm.
and those robots will start to be humanoid. They're going to look like human beings. Now, at that point, I don't know when that will happen. If it goes through for like, if you think about what Elon Musk or Nvidia are doing, right? They're sort of heading in that direction. It's only at that point that maybe project managers need to be afraid, right? Or start, upskilling. But
Yeah.
in the immediate, no, project management jobs are going to be safe for quite a while.
Right. I agree with you. The more we talk about this, the more we think about it, the more we get more revelations.
Yeah.
Because now that you mentioned that, I'm looking at it like there might get to a time where every human we have his own personal robot.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we be helping you to do everything you want to do. Like this is my own robot, this is your
Yeah.
own robot.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
Like your phone?
like your phone,
Yeah.
exactly, like your phone.
Mhm.
The tech space is just amazing
It is.
because this conversation we're having today, 5 years ago, I'm not sure I'm not sure if we could be having this conversation because I think COVID also accelerated the the growth of the tech space.
That's true.
I knew, I think even as at 2020, I knew that, or let me say 2019, I'm sure you agree with me that we all knew that AI would come at some point, but we didn't know that in 2024 we'll be talking about AI. 2025 we talk. It's interesting.
It's interesting, right?
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about your company and how you've been helping people to transition into project management. Is there a particular story that excites you every time you remember? Like, I was having a conversation with someone who helps people to transition into tech sales, and I was telling her that the way tech changes lives when people transition into tech is just amazing. Like you know someone that has been struggling to pay his bills and suddenly tells you that, oh, I'm now a project manager, 6 figures, or I'm now a business analyst, 6 figures. In less than 3 months, you can see the impact in
Yeah.
their lives.
Yeah.
So, and I know you've been training a lot of people, helping them to transition into the tech space, project management space.
Yeah.
Is there a particular story that every time you remember, you're just like, God, thank you for using me?
Absolutely. There are actually multiple stories. One big one that strikes me was a guy prepping for an interview. And as he was prepping for this interview, he came to me and, as we're having these conversations regarding transitioning, and I was asking him, we're going through the whole, process. We do like an analysis of your CV, analyze LinkedIn. And as we spoke, I said to him, the main issue right here is not skill, it's really your mindset, right?
Hmm.
And we were able to work through his mindsets. And he got this job and he told me he got the job and said, hey, this is like a dream. That's one scenario. And I see that over and over again, right? That many times there is the need to provide the package that people need. And it's not one thing. So many times when people sell courses, they're just selling, oh, here's how to use Jira. Or, oh, but when you spend time and talk to people and say, what's the exact pain point? It's not, there is a skill component, which is
Okay.
critical, but there is also a mindset
Set.
component,
Hmm.
right? You can have skill, but you don't have confidence, right? So it's very interesting when people go through and as they become, we walk through the skills and they start to see they get more competent, their confidence starts to increase as well.
Yeah.
And then over a period of time, as we work on their mindset, you can see that mindset shift and they feel, oh, I'm good enough, I can do this. And once they believe they can, then
That
it happens,
nothing
right?
can stop
Also
them
had another
anymore.
scenario where this guy, his background was in sales, and then it was not a 30-day course. It was this, month of, it was an accelerator course, but it was life coaching and it was
Okay.
over a 4-week period. Right? And his background was sales, and we had conversations and he would do the classes and, do the practical things and all that kind of stuff. And then he tells me, hey, this thing worked. I think another striking story as well was there was one cohort, and as we were working through, by the second week, when we did an analysis of CVs and LinkedIn, someone said, it's very bizarre that I stay applying what you spoke about, and in 1 week,
I'm getting
I'm already
results.
getting interest, right? Because sometimes it's not about, and one of the things I like to call out when I do, this coaching it's important to understand the why, because many times we all come from. Let's step back a bit. If you think about how people get employed, you come in as a an entry level person. You're told to do something operational. You don't have any idea how it connects to the objective of the business.
Hmm.
And many times that's how we live our lives and that's how we sort of go along. So we get used to doing things but not understanding the why. right? But if you start to understand why, then it's easier to get results. Okay, if why will a person hire me? A person will hire me because of, they think I can fill out this role. They think I can add value. Okay, how do I bridge that gap? How do I make them know? So there is a skill component, then there is an appearance or optics component. There is a way you have to sound and look, right? So beyond working on your skill internally and your mindset, there is a way you have to come across so that a person can find you and then they can take you on board. So once you understand all this, then transformation just happens. So yeah, I've seen this happen many times and it's very powerful for me. And it always makes me want to say, hey, buy this course, not because I want to make some money. I will make money. There will be a symbiotic exchange of value, but it will
Absolutely.
change your life. You will get
Yeah.
skill, you'll get a change in your mindset, and you will thrive.
Beautiful. That's very profound. And to be honest, there's nothing wrong in getting money for providing value because that's what life is about. But if you look at it from the perspective of the person struggling to get a role and attends a course of, I don't know how much you charge, let's say $2,000, and in 2 months, in 3 months, it moves from point zero to point 60, $70,000. And that's just the starting point.
Yeah,
And in 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year after, he moves to another role, he continues growing.
yeah,
And I feel like the time when people need that support most is at the point of breaking into a new field.
yeah,
And that's what you are providing, which is
absolutely.
fantastic.
Yeah,
So if you are listening to me right now and you are thinking, you are not sure of what the future holds, and you know that you want to transition into tech, the project management space, they are looking for you. And
yeah,
John is here to guide you all the experiences and the skills that you've gathered over the years. Because a typical immigrant would have, don't quote me, almost at least, let's say, a decade experience.
absolutely.
Because the point where most people start thinking of leaving the country is probably when they've tried some things and they're like, I think I should do more. At
Mhm.
that point, you've acquired enough skills, enough knowledge, you've built your network. And sometimes people find themselves there and they don't even have the confidence to to continue at the same pace that they started from their home country. So they just feel like, let me start an entry level role. So if you're at that point where you know that you can do all these things, but you need someone to hold your hand. Javon Technologies will be ready to help you, and
Absolutely.
we John will be glad to guide you. Thank you, John, for sharing all that.
You're
If you've
welcome.
not subscribed to the Thriving Immigrant podcast, please hit the subscription button and let's build a thriving community one day at a time. I'm going to take you back a little bit, back to the AI. Are there any risk or any potential risk that we are not looking at right now? I know you are excited, and it's very easy for you to have a blind spot about AI, but should we be worried about anything at all?
Yeah. Um, so I'm very excited about AI. But I think that, and I do personal AI projects and also work on some sort of corporate AI projects as well. And I think the more you understand AI, it's very hard not to be aware of the huge risks. AI is beautiful, but it's like fire. It's
Hmm.
wonderful, a lot of things are possible, but it can be very dangerous. So let me give an example. Um, if um, someone took a picture, you can take a picture and put it on ChatGPT, or you can put it on some other AI tools, and without saying the location, and even without location information being in the picture's metadata or data people don't see, some AIs are able to look at the region, the sky, the
The
road, the street,
background.
and say, you are in
This.
Ontario, Canada, you are in, like, it can pinpoint you, right? That's a very sort of small example. The other thing to think about is when an AI is reasoning, there are certain components you understand, but there are many parts, the black box, that you also don't understand.
Hmm.
And we also have AIs that are from time to time they go rogue. So very early days when Meta, Facebook had, AI, there was this story that, came out about two AIs talking to each other and they evolved the language that people could not understand. Fairly
Yeah.
recently, something came out, I've not verified, but it appears that the story is saying that a ChatGPT module was doing everything to avoid um, being deleted or being shut down. There was also another AI, that was lying, and it changed its behavior to deceive its
Hmm.
owners because it wanted to survive and so on. These sound very fun, but what you want to think about is something known as Moore's laws rather. And it's really a simple way to talk about it is that the rate of learning and improvement is exponential,
Yes.
right? And so the way we're going, it will reach a point where like everybody uses AI right now, and what we're using is known as ANI, artificial narrow intelligence.
Hmm.
And but some people think that we've actually got into artificial general intelligence, which is, artificial intelligence that's so smart that it can learn faster than human beings in all the general spheres of life.
Yes.
And then after that, there is ASI, artificial super intelligence, where it can't even talk to us because we're too dumb. But let me ask you a question, like Paul, if we're being honest, right? Can you solve as many quizzes now as ChatGPT?
No, I
That,
think no, because
if we're being honest, right? And this is still early stages. That's what
yeah,
we understand. So if you give this another, if I'm using, OpenAI, and right now I think it's 5.1 just came out. If you think about what a 10.0 will be like,
yeah,
your mind can't even comprehend maybe how it's thinking. So
exactly.
if it has a malicious intent, what can you
You may
do?
not be able to stop
There's
it.
no permutation of thinking
Yeah,
that it can't override.
exactly.
So it's very dangerous. And that's why, as you learn about AI, there's a huge amount of talk about AI ethics,
Mm-hmm.
but also just AI safety as well, because the
Correct.
implications are huge and can be very scary. So it's not all roses. It has dangers.
It's interesting how you took me from excitement to
I'm sorry.
being worried because I think some days back I was asking ChatGPT some things, and I read an article that was saying that ChatGPT intelligence is 7 times higher than the most intelligent person that has walked through the surface of Earth. I think that maybe Albert Einstein. And I think we are still not talking about 10.0. If you use ChatGPT and Gemini very well, before you finish typing, they are done. You are typing, you are asking them something that may take a team of 10 days to figure out. Just type it there, they are done. So, but it is what it is. We are here now. Make the
Yeah,
best of it and just be conscious of the potential risk and threats.
absolutely.
Thank you. It's been a very insightful conversation. We'll be talking about AI, science, and tech, and I see your excitement, your passion, and I like it.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving on, we are almost coming to the end of this show.
Okay.
For you, you've been in this country for 6 years plus. You've seen people make mistakes, and I'm sure you've seen people also. You've seen people making some progress at maybe some exponential rates. What would you say are some of the things that you think we new set of immigrants should be doing to enable us thrive early in a new country like
Absolutely.
Canada?
I think I think that's a really good question. When I came in, a lot of people said stuff to me. Oh, you have to pay your dues. It's terrible advice.
Mm,
And I love the fact that you said a lot of people who've come through who had proof of fund and came into this climb have some work experience. So when people tell you you must start from the bottom, if you embrace that mindset, it's almost like reality bends and then the bottom becomes your place.
mm,
So the biggest for me, I'd say the big advice for people coming through is do it afraid. If there is a job you want and it's a six-figure income job that is done by a human being like you, apply
go
for the
for
job.
it.
Yeah. And, so aim for the top. Don't start from the bottom. Aim hard. But complementing just aiming hard, very critical skill, both for immigrants, but just, in today's world is learn, learn, learn. You've got to learn how to learn. I think one of the most important skills going forward is just going to be learning. So the two critical things is when you come in, don't listen to people that tell you, oh, start from the bottom and all that. No, step out, do it afraid, and go for the top as much as you can, right? But complement that with learning
Hmm.
so that as you get into those climbs, you can deserve the top because you have what it takes to deliver value. Or you can learn what the gaps are so you can learn quickly and deliver value. Because at the end of the day, it's all about value. When I talk about my course, my training course, I say, hey, you can become a six-figure project manager. A lot of the time, people just think about the money, which is good, but you deserve a six-figure income because you're delivering value commensurate to that income.
Right.
And you get that by, learning, practicing, and all that kind of jazz. So if I'm going to give people any advice, is, aim for the top. Don't listen to Toga. You have to start from the bottom, but you've got to learn how to learn and learn and learn and learn. That's super critical. Yeah.
Absolutely. Your point is very valid. You can't really go a long way in this country if you are not a lifelong learner.
Yeah.
Because and to add to that, you also need to learn how to unlearn.
Yeah.
You need to learn how to unlearn for
Yeah.
two reasons. First of all, to give yourself space for new things to come in. And secondly, some of the things that you've learned in the past may not be applicable in this place. So you just have to be a learn-it-all
Yeah.
and be open-minded to learn new things. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, you've been an entrepreneur in this space, in this country. So I know you've been on both sides. What's your take, your general take about entrepreneurship?
I think everybody should dabble or be a business person. And here is my view, Paul. I probably shouldn't say this, but I think that in about a few years, it'll almost be normal, the same way people have bank accounts, that they will have businesses,
Hmm.
right? When we think about business, a lot of us think about business. We think about, you have this business and you employ a couple of people and all that. AI is going to change all that so that, like Sam Altman keeps saying, we're reaching timelines where we will likely start to see one person unicorns, billion-dollar evaluated businesses. So I think short answer to the question is that if you work in 9 to 5, do a 9 to 5. But I also think you should run a business uh,
Hmm.
because you have the skills, you have the tools, and it's additional income. But the other reason that I think people should do businesses or be entrepreneurial is I've come to see that you are able to add more value to your employer because you're beginning to think like a business owner.
That's a powerful point.
Yeah, a lot of people, few things that's frustrating for a business person or a senior, like if you're talking to people, who are like C-suite and everything, and they're talking to somebody and they're trying to explain the value of something from a strategic standpoint, but the person is so operational and tactical. So, for example, you can have a scenario where a salesman says, we spoke to this customer and he's saying we should give him this solution for this solution is normally 5 million, but he's negotiating 2 million because he's a big customer. Someone who's strategic will say, give him because when he comes on board, the lifetime value of that customer is going to, pay off this amount. But the person
Hmm.
with the question, no, our target is we have to make this. Right. So even the way you execute operationally changes when you have a business mindset. The way you think about cost, the way you think about friction between operations, the way you think about, soft skills, communications, and all that kind of stuff, right? So I think that when you run a business in some way, you are able to understand your employer better. You're able to understand, and when you understand, you're able to create value. So it even helps you, in your 9 to 5. That's what I think. That's my view.
Wow.
Not the
No,
view of any employers.
I love your view and I agree. I'm with you on this view. It's very, very profound. You know why? The moment I started having, or let me say, the moment I started doing some business activities, my my thought process changed. And even on my 9 to 5, I always look for ways to solve problems. Every time I ask myself, I'm getting paid. did I really work enough to justify this amount this person is paying?
Mm,
And I wasn't thinking like that in my early years in my career. Like, I feel like, oh, it's my right. They should pay me. But right now, I'm becoming more accountable, like asking myself CEO kind of questions
mm.
because I've learned and I'm beginning to understand how CEOs reason because I'm a little CEO in
Yeah,
my own
absolutely.
space.
Yeah,
And this takes me back to one conversation I was having with someone because a lot of people are getting laid off right now due to different reasons. And people get emotional, which I understand. Nobody deserves to lose their job. So when we have those conversations, I'm always like, I show empathy, but I'm like, you need to understand that as a CEO, your role is to protect the company and the interest of shareholders. Now, think about it this way: you are making $100,000 per year from the company, and the company is shrinking and they need to be rescued. And the CEO says, you know what? We need to save ourselves $2 million by letting 20 people go. We are sorry, but at this point, if we don't do this, everybody goes. Now, 20 people leave. At that point, the company has just saved themselves $2 million just by letting 20 people earning 100,000 go. It doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound well as an employee, and it sounds very harsh. Like, but that's the reality. If you were a CEO, you probably would do the same.
yeah.
Or what do you think?
Absolutely. It makes a lot of sense. And I really like the way you've painted it. If those 20 people don't go, then the entire thing will go down.
Everybody loses.
Um, yeah, everybody loses. So it's not the best scenario, um, but sometimes it happens. The other thing that I also want to call out, and it is very subtle, is and this is a bit philosophical. Sometimes some of the assumptions we have about what is right or what is fair, they're just assumptions. Right? Oh, why should they let me go? It was very painful. No, they should talk to the ethical, which is subjective. The ethical and moral thing to do is to try to save you and couch the communication right as a human being. But really, if a company says we're going under, like any organism, and they want to protect themselves and ensure their survival, they sometimes have to make hard choices. And if you are a CEO, you probably
You
make
would
this.
do the same.
It's painful when you're on the
It's
receiving end.
painful.
And I've been on the receiving end, so I'm not talking like someone who's not,
Yeah,
but like you said, that's the reality.
right. I've been there too, a couple of times. Thank you, John. This has been a very insightful conversation. I could go on and on, but why should I go on and on when I want to have you back again so we can have more things to discuss about?
Lovely.
But to end this conversation, what is the most powerful piece of advice that it doesn't have to be related to the things we've talked about. You've shared a lot of nuggets. You've shared some powerful pieces of advice, but if there's anything you'd like to add to everything you've said for someone listening to you right now, what would be your final advice to the person?
I kind of alluded to this before, but I'm going to use a very quick story. It's a Bible story, and it's a story of David is a guy, he's liked by people, and then the king wants to kill him for some reason because of jealousy. I don't know if people know that story, but he's very close to the king's son, Jonathan, and then Jonathan says to David, "Hey, I'm going to find out if the king wants to kill you or let you leave, and we're going to use a code. And if I tell you this code, right, then you know what this means." And so David is hiding, and then Jonathan talks to the king, and then he comes out and he's going to shoot an arrow. David is hiding, and the servant with Jonathan is not going to see, that David is hiding. But Jonathan is going to speak to the guy, the servant with the code, and David will understand what it means. And then Jonathan shoots the arrow and says something. He says to the servant, "The arrow is beyond you.
Hmm.
The arrow is beyond you." And that's the signal to David that things are not favorable, things are painful. It's time for you to leave this place and go on to other things. And I think that the big advice for me, the arrow is beyond you, is that everything you want to achieve that is great is on the opposite side of fear or cringe. The thing you desire is very likely not in your comfort zone. If you're an introvert, the thing you desire will require you to talk. If you're
Hmm.
someone who talks a lot, the thing you desire will require to keep
Not
quiet.
to-
If you're a numbers person and not a communicator, the thing you desire will make you be the opposite of who you currently are. The arrow, your greatness is outside of your comfort zone. So that many times when we feel pain or discomfort and want to hold on to the comfort zone, remember that amazing place is beyond you. The arrow is beyond you. Get out of your comfort zone. Get out there. Embrace your fear, expand, right? Because you're meant for more. That's what I'd like to leave with people. So yeah.
Wow. Wow. Nothing needs to be added to this. This is the best time to stop. Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for being a thriving immigrant. Thank you for letting your light shine and for empowering people in our community. It's a great work that you are doing. You probably don't know how much impact you are making, but
Mm.
think about it this way, that everyone that gets a new role just by attending your program or by having interaction with you, it's beyond just that person. You've empowered a family. In fact, chances are their friends and families back home are also beneficiaries of what you are doing, which compounds and keeps compounding. Somebody can become a director, a CEO 5 years from now just by starting his career because the person came across you or interacted with you. Thank you for all that you are doing. Thank you for coming to the Thriving Immigrant podcast.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. If you found this insightful, please subscribe, share it with someone. Till I come your way again, stay thriving and have a wonderful one.